I'm Lindsey Russell and I am so excited for today because to celebrate one of CBBC's most popular, most watched shows returning for a second series, I'm going to be chatting to two of the cast members of Malory Towers. Ella and Carys, I'm so excited that you're here today. We're going to get straight into it. I basically want to know everything there is to know about Malory Towers. We've got to get into it all, okay? So for anyone who maybe hasn't watched or they need a little refresher, maybe I'll start with you, Ella. Can you start by just telling us a little bit about the character you play, you know, what she's like, what kind of person she is?
Yeah, so I play a character called Darrell Rivers, and I think her main qualities are probably she's very trustworthy and loyal. She always knows how to stand up for herself and for the other people that she loves, her friends. And yeah, I just think she's a very inspirational person that I really look up to.
I think she's pretty cool. And what about your character, Carys? Let's talk about her a little bit.
I think she's very complex. She's smart, and when she wants to be very determined, but she can be anxious at times, and sometimes she lets fear take control of her.
So she sounds very normal to me. I think we all do that a little bit, don't we? So guys, tell me, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you read the Malory Towers books when you were younger? Were you fans of them?
So during year 3, I think it was a big craze when in my school. So I didn't actually read them at the time, but my younger sister read the entire series. And when I started auditioning, like the auditioning process, I read the first book and then the second book when I got the part. So yeah.
Amazing, Carys. And what about you?
I've always been a bit of a bookworm. So I like when they first put out the auditions, they were like, there's going to be a second series of this show. So I basically studied up and was like, I watched the series and I read like 3 of the books because I read one. I was like, I just have to read the first one. And then I was like, 1, this is really good. And 2, Ellen isn't actually in this book. So I read the second one and the third one as well. So yeah.
I love that though, and I think that's all part of it, especially when you're new to a show like you were, Carys. Like that is all part of it, isn't it? Just like deep diving, getting into it, even if you know your character's not in certain bits. It's just about kind of understanding the world of Malory Towers, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really fun. I loved it, and I was able to kind of immerse myself in this fun adventure kind of world. It was great.
When you guys aren't filming, I'll ask you, Ella, what's it like with the other girls? Do you kind of keep in touch? Have you got, I want to know, is there a Malory Towers message group that happens?
Absolutely. I think we have about 6 different WhatsApp groups on, well, not just WhatsApp, just every kind of messaging platform you can think of. We constantly talk every single day. I was talking to one of the girls this morning, and yeah, it's just we keep in touch all the time. I can't really live without talking to them all the time.
That's so cute. So you are actually kind of real mates, and I bet you've formed, you know, when you film a show like this, it's obviously incredible. It's gone down so well on CBBC, like I said, but it must be very intense too. Like I can imagine you do really form a bond with each other, right?
Yeah, we're away from our families, which does make it quite difficult, but it's a home away from home for me, and it's just these girls are my absolute best friends in the world, and I love them so much, and we really formed a family here, and I think that's a really amazing part of the show, and that's why I love it so much.
Okay, before I start crying, because that was so cute, Ella, let's talk about your character Malory Towers a little bit more. How did it make you feel when you got the part? I mean, on what was your honest reaction? Where were you when you found out that you'd got this amazing role?
So I was in my kitchen, and I kind of had a little bit of a feeling because my mum, bless her, she's not very good at keeping secrets and keeping it to herself. So she had a present wrapped up, and she was like, "Oh, Ella, come sit down on the kitchen, just stay there for a second." Then she got out her phone, she was filming, and then she gave me the gift, and I opened it up, and it was the first book of Malory Towers. So that's how I knew, and it was the cutest thing, and I just remember feeling starstruck almost. I still can't really believe it to this day, but it's just, I'm so unbelievably grateful. It's just amazing.
I got goosebumps there. It nearly made me cry. That's so sweet of your mum. Carys, no pressure. Now you've got to tell us how you felt. I mean, were there books involved, surprises, cameras?
Not really. It wasn't as prepared as Ella's, I don't think. And my mum like sat me down just in the living room, and was like, okay, don't freak out, but they think I think that you like might have gotten this, you know, they've offered you the role. And I was like, you think? Really? They offered me the role? Does that mean that like I haven't? And she was like, calm down, they've just offered you the role. I was like, wait, what? So yeah, it was kind of just like, I didn't even know, it wasn't very like formal. She was just sat me down and was like, yeah, so they've offered you the role.
That is amazing. I mean, you always remember that day when you found out, don't you? Like, that's always a day that's going to stick with you. I've got, I'll put you on the spot here a bit, guys. But if you were to play another character in Malory Towers, who would you want it to be and why? Because I mean, Ella, especially you, but Carys, you must have got to know like all the other characters now and what they're like. And because I'd kind of want to play a bit of a baddie, I think. What about you guys? Ella's nodding.
Yeah. So I think that's probably one of my dreams, is to play a very evil character. So I think either Gwen or even Matron would be a really, really fun character to play. But obviously I don't think I could, the big shoes to fill, because Danya and Ashley just play incredible of their characters. So I don't really know if I could live up to their standards, but it'd be fun.
It'd be so fun. Can I just ask you as well, there's a scene, right, isn't there, where you shove her into the pool? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that. It was completely wrong. It was.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So unlike the slap scene, which is another big scene with me and Danya, that was fake. That was all staged. But for this one, I actually did push her in the pool. But there was a lot of safety and stunt people there, so they knew exactly how to, you know, fall into a pool. So Danya had to learn the exact way and the exact position to basically fall in without being injured. And I think the only injury part of it was just how cold the water was. So it was very cold as Kaz knows. But that was a lot of fun to film. That was really, really fun.
Is that a scene as well where presumably you've only got like one take to really get it right? Because you can't get out the pool, dry hair and like go again, you know?
Yeah, we had one scene in season 2 where me and Kaz jump in the pool together, and the water is so cold. It's crazy.
And then Carys, what about you? Like, who's the other role you'd love to take on and why?
Honestly, I really don't know. I think, yeah, I would love to play a bad guy, but I think all of the characters are so like complex and different that it's kind of hard. I mean, I think because I'm quite a loud person, to like play Mary Lou, because just to give myself that challenge. Yeah, I honestly don't know how Imogen does it. Like, I'm just in awe of her, how she does it, because she's just so good at it, and I would never want to replace her ever, because I would never be able to do as good as a job.
What are those filming days like? I've been on sets before, you know, like doing my job when I did Blue Peter, I visited Hetty Feather and all that kind of thing. And they can be really long, really intense days. And I think because shows like this are so fun to watch, because that, you know, it's amazing telly, I think as the viewer, we sometimes forget that, like, even if it is light and fun, there's amazing pool scene, whatever, it takes a long time to bring just one scene together, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think I just, to be honest, if I'm really honest, I don't know if it's the same as other shows, but for me personally, I had an amazing time throughout the entire thing, even when we did have breaks in between scenes to go to school, because obviously we had to keep up our schoolwork.
That's not a break. That's terrible.
Well, we had like a packet of sweets in the middle, so if we wanted some sugary treats, you could have some of those. But yeah, it's just the scenes are really fun. I just, how, you know, what we get to do in the scenes, like our positions and like actions that we get to do are always a blast, and I just have so much fun with these girls. And yeah, just I find it fun. I think the days can get a little bit difficult, but on the weekends is always very relaxing, very chilled. We don't have to do much. Sometimes we go out, sometimes we just stayed at home and relaxed. So yeah, it all kind of balanced out, and it was pretty perfect.
I think that's the importance, isn't it, really, of the best advice I ever got when I was younger and I didn't really know what I wanted to do or wanted to study or what job I wanted to end up having. I remember someone saying to me, just do a job that you love, because then it won't feel like work, whatever you're doing. You know, even if you're super into maths and you become, you know, a mathematician or working with numbers every day, or you're into science and you're working in a lab every day, for example. I think sometimes when you're doing something you love, it doesn't it probably doesn't really feel like you guys are going into work. Is that right, Carys? Or were there days where you like, this is really tough?
I think like 99.9% of the time it was definitely, you didn't feel like work. It wasn't work because it was like just spending all your time with your favorite people. But I think that like 0.01% of the time where it's just like at the end of like a 9.5 hour day, and you've done loads of school and stuff like that, and it's just like you kind of had to like take a breath and be like, okay, that was a long day.
Nearly there.
But yeah, exactly. But I think it wasn't like I ever felt, oh, I wanted to leave, or like I needed to go and just leave. It was always kind of like, this is a tiring day, but I still get to be with my favorite people. So it's always great.
What about when you have scenes with Matron? Because now I don't know what she's like in real life, okay? But she comes across pretty strict, pretty cold and scary. But what's she like when filming on set? What kind of person is she?
To be honest, at first I was really scared of her because I obviously didn't know what she was like. And all the guys were like, she's lovely, she's amazing, like she's so funny. And I was like, I really think she is, but I'm like so scared of her. And the first time I met her was in the makeup trailer, and we were getting our hair done. And I was sitting there and she was opposite me. And the first scene we ever did together was the longest scene that I've like ever had to do, like ever. It was paragraphs and paragraphs. And I was like freaking out. And I was like, oh, it isn't going to mess up in front of her. It's our first scene. And she like comes in and she's like, hi, you're like Carys, right? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, do you have a nickname that I could call you? Like, is there anything? And I was like, I have Kaz. And then I mentioned that my sister calls me Cabbage sometimes. And she was like, that's your new nickname. So from then on, she just called me Cabbage. And, it's in all her cards. It's in every day she sees me. But after that, it was just brilliant.
That's so sweet. It is often the case. I've done a few of these, and when you chat to actors, often the people who play like the nasty, scary characters are genuinely the nicest people ever, ever, ever.
Absolutely.
I want to talk to you about directors as well, because it's so something that I always, when I was growing up watching these programs, you forget that there's like a director and all these crew, and it's a massive team, isn't it? But talk to me about the director. Is it just one? Do you have loads throughout the series that kind of come in and out, or is it just one person and this show's like their little baby?
We had 3 directors. We had Gary, Bruce, and Tracy. Tracy was the female director. We were like, yes, women in film, let's go. She's honestly amazing, same as all of the other directors. All of the directors, I always am like so conscious of how lucky we are to get directors who, well, one, truly like appreciate and realize the work that's put into a show, the work that the crew do. Bruce is just the sweetest soul, honestly. And gives us so much freedom with our characters, always asking us what we think as well, and gives us some kind of creative direction. So we're able to kind of say, actually, I think my character would be doing this at this time, like if that's all right. And he's always like, yes, of course, let's go for it. Gary is again like so amazing. They're all just incredible. But he gives off a very zen vibe. Like he's a very calm, steady like person. Which I think is so good in the director as well. So brilliant.
Carys, you touched on this earlier, but I'd be interested to hear from you both and whether your brains work in the same way. But what is it like learning lines? You were saying, Carys, that you had scenes where you had these huge paragraphs. And I think there's a lot of people out there that might think, oh, I really want to be an actor, but I'm not very good with memory, or, oh, I've got dyslexia, so it's not for me, or whatever. And actually, there's always a way to learn lines, and everyone has a bit of a different technique, don't they? Ella, have you got any kind of tips and tricks and things that you do to get the words stuck in there?
Yeah, so it's quite a difficult process. You do get used to it. So we were filming for 6 months, so quite a long time to get used to learning lines. But I definitely, at the beginning, I remember when we came back for season 2, I just remember I was like, I don't know how to learn lines. I completely forgot. And we would be given the scripts for the next day, so we'd learn them the night before. And I think a lot of repetition and like reading it out to people and letting them check you is very helpful. This is also helpful for like revision for tests in school as well. And I think that's how I revise. I would probably, my lines, I'd highlight them on my phone or on the script. And I just kind of read through them over and over again and said them over and over again. And when me and Dania were sharing a room, I'd always tell her to test me on my lines the night before. And then in the morning, you kind of just review them and then you should be all right. And also the directors are so lovely. So even if you do forget your lines, which I did quite a lot, so I did forget my lines a lot, they'd always be really understanding and you could just do it again. And yeah, that's the great thing about television, I think, is you can just keep doing a million takes, and then when you finally get your lines right, they use that one. You don't need to do it live.
That's the good thing about dramas, isn't it? The way up is, yeah, the days are longer, but at least you get to do everything 1, 2, 3, 4 times, you know, if you want, if you mess up. Carys, did you have any techniques? Is it because, you know, coming into your first series, I bet you were a little bit intimidated at the start.
Yeah, I mean, I'd done a West End, which was obviously live. So I kind of gotten into my brain the idea of kind of like, all right, you know, just make sure that you know your lines, because especially in that kind of environment, especially if you want to go into like theatre, West End, that kind of thing, you have to know them because you're in front of 1,000 people, and you know, if you mess up, that's kind of embarrassing. But when I went into like TV, I don't know. I think it is a lot of repetition, and I think once or twice, you know, when you slip up, it's very normal. Like you can't hold yourself to too high of a standard. Like thinking that you're going to get every line right for 6 months straight is just unrealistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think letting yourself fail, which can be very hard, but understanding that it's all right to mess up because that's part of life. And also just, yeah, a lot of repetition, reading it out loud, and just making sure that you're confident in your character and in your lines.
Just before we go, I wanted to do almost like a bit of a quick fire. I want to know about Malory Towers' characters. So I'm going to ask you who is and you have to finish the sentence for me, okay? So, and you can say different answers. You can disagree if you like, all right? So, out of the cast, we're talking cast, not characters, who is the clumsiest?
I want to say Sienna, Tash, or
oh, everyone's just constantly like tripping over.
Yeah,
it's quite amazing how all of us can just like fall over our feet. Just we're standing and suddenly, oh, all of us is down. Oh, sorry.
That's like when you've been doing a 9.5 hour filming day. You're all just falling over. Yeah. Okay, who's the best swimmer?
Oh, Sienna.
Ella.
Really? Oh, thank you. I think Sienna said that she was like grade 8 swimming at some point.
I think she's made that up. There are grades in swimming.
I don't know. I don't remember. I remember her saying that very vividly, but I don't remember.
Did she say singing? Because there are grades in music, but not swimming.
Oh, she might have said. Maybe she said that. Maybe.
I definitely think Ella, because she we had a pool in Canada, which was just amazing, and she would always be in there, swimming cap, goggles, and she would be like doing laps and laps and laps and laps, and we're all just like messing around with like a noodle and just like whacking each other with it, and she's like do. So I think definitely Ella on that one.
Wow, I love that. Okay, who's the best dancer out of all of you? Matrons included in these?
Oh, yeah. Well, Ashley's great as well, but I think Sienna's got to take that title.
Really? She got the moves?
She's a professional dancer, so definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Who's the funniest dancer who hasn't got the moves? You don't have to answer that. There'll be a fight and then there won't be a next series. Don't worry. Okay, who is the best pranker? Who's the biggest joke? Ella.
Instantly Ella.
Thank you.
And who would you say is the funnest on set?
Ashley's a lot of fun, I'd say. She's great.
I bet. That is it must be such a fun job for her, getting to work with you guys. And the best bit about, you know, talking to you both today is like, it's clearly, like you said at the start, such a little family unit. I mean, if you do anything for 6 months, day in, day out, you're going to get pretty close. But listen, I'm so excited for the new series. Like I said, I'm going to sit and binge it. Cannot wait. So thank you so much for talking to me. And I've loved hearing little ins and outs about the show. It's been really great to get a behind the scenes. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Great.